the most important thing is to have resources that you can rely on if you start a company. Resources that will enable you to, work on your startup for a few years, right? For a reasonable length without expectations of getting paid, because that's what it takes, right? Now, unfortunately, in our country, we've seen a huge drop in number of businesses started. I mean, there were twice as many businesses started during the Carter administration than there are today. So, innovation is really dying up, right? I mean, it's been every decade is lower and lower, right? And the problems are multiple, right? And so there's Andrew Yang ran for president on Democratic ticket, and years ago he wrote a paper about what makes entrepreneurs successful. And comes down, there are notable exceptions. I'll mention some of them, but it comes down to one thing, and that is, wealth and resources, right? If you're able to take a risk, that means you have resources that will support that endeavor. Most people that don't have those resources, even if they have the greatest idea, they can't just drop everything they're doing. They can't drop their job without savings, with their family supporting them. So when you see a lot of these young entrepreneurs, starting companies and getting into there's Silicon Valley is full of them, right? Even Siegel of Snapchat, Jack Dorsey, even Elon Musk, right? When you admire all these people, you go back, and Mark Zuckerberg is a great example. You go back, Bill Gates was one, Reid Hoffman, right? All of them had super privileged backgrounds. You go back and see Peter Thiel is I mentioned, and they're really privileged, right? And they could do this because they had private schools, wealthy parents, and all that. And there's exceptions. Some of them, like Jobs, middle class. Ellison dropped out of college. He was just kind of grinding it out. Bloomberg was another great example, but they're examples. They're exceptions to the rule, but they're not the rule. That's what I call exceptions, right? Many more young people. And the reason you can see so many young people is because they have research. So one thing I would say, the advice I can give is that be prepared to work without pay. So that means, think about it. Where's your health insurance going to come from? How are you going to pay your bills? All the other things, it comes down to resources. So that's the most important thing. If you have that, right, that is, the best you can do. The second best, which is a myth, which is moonlighting. A lot of people think that moonlighting, most or a lot of companies start by people moonlighting. Yes, to some extent it's true. Very often than not, people burn out and then don't really go too far. But some people do succeed by moonlight, they work after their regular job and they're able to connect with like-minded individuals, founders, and they come together and they build something. But again, there are very much fewer examples of those than of people that just had resources outright and they were able to you go out there for years and try one after another startup. And success stories we hear are maybe their third or fourth startup or iteration on an idea, right? Not something they probably started with.
I'll never leave this place.